So when you're coming with a tourist visa, you know it is not residence. That doesn't guarantee you residence in the country. And when you're coming into the country, make sure you run series of medical checkups like blood tests, know your HIV status, know your tuberculosis status, hepatitis C, hepatitis B. I think I already mentioned them in the previous video. You can check up on that. You would know the kind of deportable diseases there are here in the country. If you're a returning subscriber to this channel, I am most grateful to have you here with me once again, and thank you so much for the massive support. If this is your first time on this channel, if this is your first time seeing my face or watching my videos, just do well to hit on that subscribe button and be a part of this family, because there is a lot in stock for you and you wouldn't even dare to lose out on them, because you really need the kind of information that make waves on this channel. Now, there's been series, like multiple questions as to whether or not tourist visas, like 30 days tourist visas or 90 days tourist visas, are still going to be in existence as from next month. Like, we all know that there's been an introduction of this new law in the UAE that are going to take effect from next month, that's September 2022. And lots of people, I get lots of questions from people asking me as to whether or not the tourist visas have been cancelled because they heard or they've had certain misconceptions or information on the internet from people saying that when you have a tourist visa, you can't secure yourself a job here in the UAE. Bro, na lie. It is a lie. It is all fallacy. Like, it is not true. It is not out there. And trust me, if anything of the sort is going to happen here in the UAE, the government or the board of directors in the country are going to let it, or they are going to make it known to the public. Nothing is hidden here. Like, if there is any form of news, there is any form of information, it's still going to be either on Khalid Times, you can see it on the UAE portal, you can see it everywhere here on the internet when you are here in the UAE or anywhere around the world. Do not be lied to. The tourist visas are still going to be in existence. Like, you can still travel to the UAE if you're unskilled or you're less skilled, or you're not someone who is a degree holder. If you don't qualify for the job seeker visas, you can still come in with your tourist visas and then find yourself a job. With that being aside, I would advise you actually come here into the country on a should I say an employment visa or direct employment. Like, if you come here on a direct employment, you are free. You are kind of free than coming here on a tourist visa intending to search for a job or do online search for jobs. You understand? So I would urge you to travel here into the UAE with either direct employment or come here on a job seeker visa if you qualify. That is, if you qualify. If you don't qualify, at least you can still come here on a tourist visa and then find a job. If your company actually meets the requirements needed to change your status from tourist to employment or residence, then that's cool. You're good to go. You understand? So please debunk that news making rounds. Like, if you're unable to acquire yourself a job seeker visa, you can't find a job here in the UAE. No, it is not true. That is not anywhere on the internet. It's not on the portal of the UAE. If anything of that sort happens here in the UAE, I'm going to let you know about them here. So this is why I once again urge you to subscribe to the channel so that we can reach the masses. Share the links, like share my links, recommend it to people, make them subscribe so that we can reach the masses. You understand? So that any information that you need or they need, they can also get from this channel. If you read from the title, I actually wanted to help you differentiate between an entry permit and a residency visa, because lots of us back home don't know the difference between entry permits and then residency visa. So today we are going to talk about, we are going to have a talk about the residency visas and then the entry permits. What is an entry permit? Like, for instance, if you're in your country, and you don't have access to the UAE, I mean, if this is your first time, or if you're a first timer intending to travel to the UAE and you are not in any of the countries that are supposed to get into the country before getting visas stamped into their passports, then you would definitely need a visa. Like, you would need an entry visa. Therefore, an entry permit is a document issued by the UAE's federal authority for identity, citizenship, customs and port security that allows foreigners to enter and stay in the UAE legally for a certain period. The document may be in physical or electronic form. So if you're in a country that is not qualified for visa on arrival when you're coming into the country, you would definitely need one of these visas. Now, there are some nationalities may not require an entry permit. Like I said, some nationalities don't really require an entry permit to get into the UAE. You understand? But if your country does not or do not, no, if your country does not, if your country do not, if your country does not qualify for visa on arrival, like it is stated, then you will definitely need a visa to come into the country. There are actually lots of entry permits that you can travel into the UAE with. Now, there are various types of entry permits for different purposes, such as employment, family visits, tourism or transit, medical treatment, humanitarian mission, and attending conferences. If you are coming here on a family visit, there is a visa for that. If you are coming here for tourism, there is a visa for that. If you're coming here for employment, there is a visa for that. That is an entry visa for that. The duration of stay for each entry permit differs according to the type of entry permit. For example, entry permits for transit allows the person to stay in the country for 4 days, while entry permit for employment allows the employee to stay in the country for 2 months, during which his sponsor must change the employee status to residence visa. I've said this before and I'll say it once again. Like, most people come into the country, like travel into the UAE, and then on reaching the country, their employers ask them to work on the entry permit or the entry visas, which is totally illegal. It is not right until your sponsor is able to process your residency, like your employment visa. You do not have to work in the country. So if you entered the country on a tourist visa, or you entered on any of the entry permits and your status has not been converted into employment or residency, please do not work. Stay at home, let your employer process each and every document that is required for your residency before you start work, for safety reasons and for security reasons. Because if you are caught, you could pay somewhere around 50,000 dirhams, which is about $13,000 thereabouts. You understand? And I hope you wouldn't risk getting a fine of $13,000 in the UAE. I mean, you are here to struggle. You are here to hustle. You are here to make money. So if you are going to pay a fine of about $13,500, Charlie, it doesn't make sense. So if you are here in the UAE, if it is your first time, if you are on a tourist visa and you intend to work with it, it is not advisable. You could do that, but when you are caught, when the law catches up with you, you could be in some deep shit. And if you are in the country and then this visa or these permits, these entry permits expire, you either exit the country or change your status, like change it before it even expires. Or you better leave the country for us, like leave the country before you are caught up with fines, like overstay fines. So that is the entry permit for you. If you've been thinking about how to get into the UAE or how things really work here, the visas required and stuff like that, that is it for you. Like, you can enter into the country provided you are in a country which qualifies for visas on arrival. Then you are free. You can come into the country, you can come into Dubai, you can come into Abu Dhabi, you can come into UAE and then get your visa stamped at the airport, like the airport for you, into your passport, which shows you're here in the UAE and you qualify to live in the country for as long as you want to live. You understand? Now, knowing about the entry permits and what they really are, what then is the residence visa? The residence visa is actually issued to people who are already in a country or entered into the country with entry permits, like tourist visas, whatever visa, family visas, tourist visas, whichever visa you entered into the country with. If in case you come into the country and then you qualify to work or to be sponsored by an employer or a family member to live long enough in the country to fulfill the kind of purpose you've been assigned to here in the country, that is when you are provided with a residency visa. Only sponsors meeting the General Directorate of Residency and Foreigners Affairs can apply for the foreigners residence visa. A residence visa requires the person sponsored to undergo a medical test and prove that he or she is medically fit, and he must pass a security check. This is why I always tell people to undergo medical checkups. I've said this time without numbers. I've always been telling people that before you intend, or before you even dream, before you make that bold move to leave your country and then travel into the UAE, first of all, do your best to run some medical tests on yourself, because I've actually done a video on this deportable diseases in the UAE. Like, seriously, if you fail any of the tests, you could be deported back into your home country. Especially when it comes to HIV and AIDS, you could be deported. When you have tuberculosis, you could also be deported. Charlie, go and check out go and check up on that video, Charlie. You would really get the information you need, all the needed information you would ever want to know before getting yourself into the UAE. Once again, I guess I've done just to this video, and I hope you now understand what the entry permit is and what the residence visa is. So when you're coming with a tourist visa, you know it is not residence. That doesn't guarantee you residence in the country. And when you're coming into the country, make sure you run series of medical checkups like blood tests, know your HIV status, know your tuberculosis status, hepatitis C, hepatitis B. I think I already mentioned them in the previous video. You can check up on that. You will know the kind of deportable diseases there are here in the country. And then when you come here into the country, Charlie, I beg you to be of good behavior. The entry into the UAE isn't a problem as to how to live in the country and be law abiding. If you are law abiding enough, you don't have any issue. You understand? Like, if you're law abiding enough, you can live in the UAE for as long as you want to live in the UAE. So thank you so much for joining me on this one once again. If you are a returning subscriber, like I said earlier in the beginning of this video, thank you so much for the love. Thank you so much for the support. Charlie, everything you're doing for me so far, I really do appreciate it all. You understand? Thank you so much. If this is your first time, do well to hit on that subscribe button and be a part of this family, so I can actually greet you whenever I come online and then drop a video. My name remains Kofi Techi as usual. And until we meet again, stay safe, stay out of trouble, and be good. See you on the next one.